excited for what is coming, what lies ahead, because I know that with WFG, everybody's dreams are possible. If you focus on those dreams and you put in the energy and the effort, they will all come true. I yield back to you, Robert.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So I've got some questions that I'm going to ask you, sir, tonight, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Number one is, what were your goals in life before coming to World Financial Group?
Thank you so much for that question. Before World Financial Group met me, I was a nurse. And for the most part, I was not happy. I didn't like the fact that I had to answer to someone else, show up to work on somebody's request, be determined how much I get paid by someone else. So I did not like all those options. So after 10 years of being a nurse and working so hard at it, I was still struggling financially. So I thought, well, the better option would be to be a nurse practitioner. So I became that. And as I practiced in the field for 3 years, I was very, very unhappy. I wanted autonomy. I wanted financial freedom. And so I began searching for what was going to give me that satisfaction. I got admitted into a medical school in India because going to school in America was going to be very costly. And then I also got admitted into a medical school in Nigeria. I wanted to go back home, just so I could not be tossed around as a nurse practitioner. And as that happened, as I got admitted and preparing to go, I was not happy with the two options. First, it was so far away from the US. So I continued to look for options in the Caribbean, which was most closer to the US. The US was not an option, given how costly it was. And as that happened, as I continued to search and prepare to make that move, then WFG found me. Back to you, Robert.
Wow, awesome, awesome. Now, the second question I've got is, share with us your start with World Financial Group.
So I started with a World Financial Group 6 years ago. It took me 7 months to get licensed. And how did I get introduced to World Financial Group? We went to Maryland for a convention. It was a nurse anesthesiologist convention. And while in Maryland, I will meet the guy that would change my life forever, by the name of Levi Bonnie, who happened to show up at the residence where I was staying. And on that day, I was skeptical. But I'm happy that I was with Linda, my wife. And because she kind of knew a little bit more than me on this subject, she was closed much faster. And because she was, I had no choice. You know how that power goes, right?
Yeah.
That's how we got close on our policies. And then got recruited as well. It took me 7 months to get licensed. But this gentleman by name Levi Bonnie and Issa, they made a drive all the way from Maryland to Connecticut, where I lived at that point in time. I still remember the car they drove. It was a Range Rover, the old version, not a brand one, not a brand new one they drive now. Because it was sitting right in my parking lot for 2 days. That's what it took for how much they cared for me, drove all the way. And perhaps they even spent about 3 hours on George Washington Bridge. It was right around that scandal. Remember the scandal of New Jersey and George Washington? Yes, I can imagine that.
Wow.
Then we got introduced. He came all the way down there to train me, and spend quality time, gave me all the tools I needed to ride. And after that, it was a breeze. I went on that journey. After he trained me, I realized, I guess, this business, that's how it works. You have to go to somebody's house to help them. And so, because I live in Connecticut, a little city, I made all my trips from Connecticut to Maryland. I knew nobody in Connecticut. So all my presentations were done in Maryland. As a way of paying back, since he came from Maryland to Connecticut, I gotta do the same thing. So I would drive to Connecticut every other weekend to do a presentation. So that's how that beginning was for me. And every single day I think about it, I have nothing but gratitude and gratefulness for the person by name Divine Bonnie and Isa. As a matter of fact, the two of them came on that day. And this fortune for which we were introduced to. Back to you, Robert.
Nice, nice, awesome. I love your heart, beautiful heart. So what were some of your challenges that you faced when you rose to SMD and then on to EMD?
Very good question. I was never an EMD.
Wow.
So my first 1 year, I became an SMD. And then from SMD, I promoted 6 SMDs. I promoted my first SMD and then promoted 6 more after that. So I went from SMD to CEO. I was never EVC. I went from CEO to SEVC. So talking about the challenges to the journey to SMD. Well, the first challenge was the distance I had to drive from Connecticut to Maryland every other weekend to do presentations. And what I did was that, so I have a presentation in Maryland, all I needed was just one. So when I'm in town, I will call a friend, a cousin, and I will tell them that, I'm in town for a business. I'm gonna be super busy, but if I have time, I will stop by in the morning, the next day. So next day, let's imagine it is 10 o'clock in the morning. So I stop by at a cousin, I stop by at a friend from work, I stop by at a relative. And then you'll be amazed, I show up in the morning, they welcome me, and then they will ask me, so what brought you to town? And then I asked, well, I was not gonna tell you what brought me to town, but now that you ask, I have no choice but to tell you. But give me a second. Let me go to my car, I'll be right back. So now I go to my car and I grab my computer and then boom, there my presentation begins. And then I will call my next friend, I am in town. Something really important brought me to town. I don't live in Maryland. I'm in Connecticut, but I'm in town.
Wow. For
business. I'm super busy, but if I have time, I will show up. I'll stop by. I haven't seen you for a long time. At 4 p.m., I'm going to stop by. Sure, we're going to be home. Then I stop by at 4 p.m. And then, can you believe? The same thing happens. What brought you to town? I'm like, I was not going to tell you what brought me to town, but now that you ask, I have no choice. But give me a second. I go to my car. I grab my laptop, boom, there we go, the next presentation. And that same process continued like that. The information was new, the information was strange, but it was well received. Now, it wasn't a perfect score as I spoke to people, but I had many more people that saw the value and the importance of what WG was all about. They saw the value in the products that WG stands for. And the first 10 plus presentations, rejections, I experienced rejections, but then I didn't stop because I believe more in the value of the information for them to see the connection between poverty and the financial challenges if you don't do the right things in the beginning. So as time went on, many more people saw the power of what I was talking about and became receptive. So those are the challenges. But apart from that, which I imagine is what most people have, you're gonna have people gonna say no to you. But if you believe in what you're talking about, they just keep going. I hear back to you, Robert.
Yes, sir. That really moved me because it's the power of belief. And I believe that if many of us would exemplify that power, that would really help. So that takes me to my next question, sir. I remember meeting you first time in 2019, and it just seemed like you just kept leaping and leaping very high. So how did you build a big team so fast?
So there are a couple of things that happen during the journey to the top. So in my first 1 year, right around there, maybe 90K, 100K became SMD. And then right around my first week of becoming SMD, the first 10 people that took me to SMD was like a best friend, sister, brother, cousin, right? That kind of arrangement. But then when I became SMD, you understand a little bit more in terms of system and style. I had a new addition into the hierarchy, and the formula began to change. And that addition was a couple by name Vera Azar and Hilary Azar. When they joined the team, there was a shift. There was a paradigm shift. Here is what changed at that point in time. Prior, licensing was growing at an arithmetic rate. But when they joined, I noticed something. I realized in their first 1 month, they licensed like 5 people. That was strange. That was something new. So I had a meeting with them and I asked, how did you do it? How did you license so many people within a month? Because the formula back then was you license 1 person a month. If you're lucky, 2, but she did like 5. Then she said she was using a rule called Parkinson's law.
Oh.
Which means that the time limit you give for people to study is not open-ended, it is close-ended. It's a timeline. And then I asked more questions how she accomplished that. I went back home and I practiced. Not only that, she was also very generous to teach that system to the hierarchy. Everything changed from that moment. The results were obvious. Licensing was no longer a problem. So that was the first paradigm shift. A month later, we will have a new addition into the hierarchy with a gentleman by name Emmanuel Tita.
Yes.
Emmanuel Tita, coming from a background of a clergy, he was a pastor in Connecticut, as a training associate. Coming in new, he saw a deficiency that I was not seeing. As a training associate, he told me, I have to do my presentations in church. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, how is that possible? How are you going to present to a group of people in church? And then he went and did the first presentation as a training associate. He told me how successful he was. And I said, please, I want to learn how to do it. Can I go with you on one of those presentations? So I can sit, because I know that tricks are caught, not taught. You can never teach a trick. You can catch it. He said, sure. So I observe and notice and learn from what he did. And I saw the power of, instead of talking to one person, instead of spending 2 hours, 3 hours talking to one person, you spend the same 2 hours talking to 10 people. Then I asked him, can you teach the hierarchy? We started teaching that system to the hierarchy. Instead of talking to one, we'll talk to 10. Groups presentation. Today, Emmanuel Tita is making over $2.1 million in his first 3 years in WFG. By the way, if I may add that Vera is making 1.9 million in his first 3 to 4 years in WFG.
Wow.
Now, as time went on, we had a new addition. It was a couple by the name Patricia and Bismarck Ponsa.
Oh, yes.
Again, something new happened. You know, I've always realized soldiers help me be my business, not generals. I realized that formula early on. So when this couple from Ghana joined the hierarchy, they come from a religious background as well, Seventh-day Adventist. So in their first 2 weeks, training associate, the formula was about to change again. So Patricia told me, I want to go present in church. But here's the difference between what Emmanuel did. Emmanuel was presenting to groups of people at the church premises after church. But when Patricia joined, she said, I'm going to preach actually on the church day. I'm like, wait a minute, well, it's a church has 100 people. By the way, which pastor is going to give you the sermon? How are you going to take over somebody's church? She said, I'm going to do it. I'm like, well, you're damn right. Good luck. And then 2 weeks later, I saw she's in church with her husband. And they took over the sermon. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, how did that happen? How will somebody hand over to a stranger to do the sermon? I said, can I learn? I want to see how you do it. What the heck did you say? What did you preach? You're not a pastor. How did it even happen? I said, well, I can't come with you to that church, but can you just do a video? I just want to see the first 10 minutes. How you did it. Then she was very generous. Him, her, and the husband they would go from church to church, and they were able to deliver. Yes, during a church service, I'll hear them preach, and then they will incorporate in the preaching what we do in WG. I was like, wow. You know, this one is a tough one. I'm Catholic. There's no priest who's going to hand me that to do something like that. You know,
no, not at all.
So it's going to be difficult. But how can I do the same thing that you're doing? I realized that's why I have to change the formula a little bit. It's not going to work in a Catholic church, but it's going to work somewhere else. So I started making friends with, leaders of charismatic churches, non-denominational. And yes, I also learned to preach. And yes, I can do it too. You say you can do it, you're going to do it. The key is watching someone else do it, you're going to carry the tricks. And then, as if that is not enough, at any point in time, whatever thing is caught, noticed, and learned, we teach to the entire hierarchy.
Wow.
So things were about to get even better. We had a new addition. That addition was a lady by name Linda. I'm going to show you something here in a little bit. So let's see.
Should be able to share.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen very soon. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Yes, sir.
So let me share with you a huge change that happened. So let me tell you about the screen disappeared again on me. Give me a second.
No problem, sir. By the way, sir, while you're sharing that, Pastor Tito is our first Black pastor to go cross over $1 million.
So I'm going to share with you the power of Linda, right? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we have so many people in my team called Linda. Now, the Linda I want to talk about is this Linda right here, right? We have tons of Lindas. This one is called Linda Fombo, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is my wife, Linda Fombo. Now,
Yes,
I want to talk to you not about Linda Fombo, but I want to talk to you about Linda Ndufo.
Okay.
She did something. So Linda Ndufo, who is a CEO making 500K, was recruited to the business by my wife, Linda Fombo. You see that?
Yes, sir.
Now, wow, we have like what, 52 Lindas? That's crazy.
Wow.
Like 52 Lindas, right? Anyway, so when this lady called Linda Ndufo joined the business, something happened. Something unbelievable happened from this moment. So how did Linda, my wife, meet Linda Ndufo? When we just moved to Dallas, we moved to Dallas, and my wife was like, what can I do to meet other people? So she went online, Googling, and then she ran into something called maybe Black Women Empowerment or something of that nature. And then she registered for it. And then they were supposed to have a meeting somewhere in Frisco. She went for that meeting, and the meeting was made up of two people, Linda Ndufo and Linda Fombo. Linda Fombo told Linda Ndufo about WG and then arranged for Linda Ndufo to meet with me. So I met with Linda Ndufo, right? And she got recruited. Then she got licensed. And let me tell you what happened when she got licensed. It was the first time I did a business launch, and my office was like right around before COVID hit, that last week of COVID. It was the first time and the only time to this day, the only time I ever did a business launch in office.
Wow.
So we did an event for her. She was very sociable, very charismatic, very connectable. She knew many people. So when we did this event, something happened at that event. It was the event for which I will meet a lady by name Lillian Apono.
Yes.
Right? It was also the first time I will meet a couple by name Prince and Mary Chinche. It's a clergy, it's a pastor. It was also at that meeting where I met a lady by name Charity Ano and Tembi Ano. Now, these three names I just called have all crossed over $1 million in cash flow. So Lillian Apono is now making $3.1 million in the first 3 years in WG. First 3 years, 3.1 million. Charity Ano, 1.6 million. And Prince Chinche, $1 million. Everything happened at that event. On top of that, many more SMDs have been promoted because of that one event I did.
Wow.
That was organized by Linda Ndufo. Now, I want to talk about one more addition in terms of paradigm shift, a change in style. When Lillian joined, something changed. It was a new paradigm shift. And here's the formula she brought. This formula that she brought was a formula I first experienced with Jeff Leverton, but it made no sense to me. There was an event that was done in Maryland, not in DC. It was called the American Dream Convention by Jeff Leverton. Okay. And I remember asking him, this makes no sense. You live in Georgia. Why? How could you even think about this? You live in Georgia, and then you're doing a big event in DC. How is that possible? How is that possible? How do you deal with the dynamics of awards, moving stuff around when you're not in your home state? You know what Jeff Leverton told me? Where there is a will, there is a way. Okay, whatever that means. But it didn't record until Lillian Apono joined the show. Except she took it to a different level. I'm going to share with you something here that I learned from her. It was a game changer. So here is the formula I learned from Lillian. Here's the formula I learned from Lillian. So, by the way, at this point in time, Lillian had not even joined the team, so she never saw Jeff Leviton, was never a part of the American Dream Convention. But when I saw it, I was able to relate. So it's something like this, right? So here's the formula. The formula goes like this. So growth equals to recruiting plus E, that stands for events. If you do recruiting plus events, you're going to grow. But if you want an exponential growth, then you're going to add Z to that formula and square, where D stands for distance.
Yes, sir.
Now, what does that mean? If you do an event out of your locality, the success you get is not arithmetic. It is exponential. Because you expose the opportunity in an area where it's dry land. Because it is dry land, you pick up many, many people. So instead of just experiencing an arithmetic growth, that means what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be arithmetic growth. Instead of this, she did this.
Yes, sir.
She grew exponentially. Why? Because she added distance to the formula. So when I first noticed this, she joined, she started doing this as an SMD. She went to SMD like in 5 months. So I asked her, she told me she's going to Minnesota. She lives in Dallas. She has an event in Minnesota. And I'm like, how is that possible? You live in Dallas. You know nobody in Minnesota. What the heck are you doing? How is that possible? Before I knew it, I saw but pictures. And the hall was packed full. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to learn something. There has to be something working here. Because that's the formula I'm accustomed to. Building the business using soldiers. You're coming with fresh ideas. Not generals, but soldiers. I said, show me how to do it. I sat down with her and she was able to show me the points and the tips and the psychology behind that, as I just explained. And then before I knew it, she repeated the same process in Indiana, Kansas. I'm like, okay, you know what? I have to do this. But how stupid was I? I saw Jeff Leviton do the same thing. I should have just, should have made sense. I thought it was just like maybe an error, it didn't register. So now I realized, you know what? It works. We started teaching that to everyone else. And they all implemented the same formula. They got the same results. So This is the power of the growth and the exponential and the change in thinking and application. As all of that got applied, then came the growth. We are in all 50 states and expanding. We are trying to be in all cities, not just states, using the same formula. So I hope I was able to share with you some points as to paradigm shift, as to a change of system style. By the way, I'm sure there are many more things out there that, if applied, will make things work even better. We don't know until we know. And that's why it's always good to listen to new brains. They see things differently. And if you see it working, tap into it. It's going to make a huge difference.
Wow.
In your business.
Incredible.
Now, I'm going to tell you one more. One more. Again, from that meeting, when I met this couple, Charity and Tembi Ano, they were nurses. This couple were one of the few that never gave complaints. You know how most people give complaints, they don't come for meetings, and I was always in shock. How I see her on the floor, but she's always participating in all the meetings. She doesn't say, I don't have time. She's always speaks whenever I want her to speak. But I see her, she's in scrub, she has a stethoscope on. I'm like, how is this possible? How could you operate? Are you not scared of being fired as a nurse? She never told me what she was doing. But when she became SMD, she told me, Danny, there's something I didn't tell you. What I didn't tell you is the tools I had on me that enabled me to be in all the meetings. I said, what do you mean by that?
Wow.
I said, well, I had earpieces. You see, during winter, it was cold. Even though I was wearing something on my ear, what I was wearing was not what you thought it was. It was speakers.
Wow.
And I had my notebook on top of my documentation, hospital notebook, where I document. I have my WG notebook. So I'm able to do everything at once. So each time you wanted for me to speak, I already knew. So I will always take my break around that time. So multitasking. So I was able to, I told myself, I'm going to be present in all the meetings. I have earpieces, I have all the devices to make me listen to all what is happening in the meetings, but also be able to document as a nurse. Today, she's making over 1.6 million.
Wow.
3 years later. So I said, please, Charity, can you teach this to the team? Because it's one thing for me to hear what you just said, but I think people that give excuses as to why they cannot attend a meeting, they need to hear this. Because when they hear this, looking at your success story, looking at the financial freedom you now enjoy, hadn't been you stayed working as a nurse, you would have still been 70K a year. Let's have you teach this to other people and the mindset why that was important. Guess what? She did that, and we got the same results as evident by 280 SMDs so far. Why? No excuses. Let's get the job done. Look for a way to be in a meeting. If you distance yourself from the fire, if you're farther away from the fire and then you start dying, stay warm, stay close. This is what you can do, this is what you can do. It has been very, very monumental in the growth we've experienced. I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah, my God, I've got literally off just what you said, I've got 3 pages of notes. This is fantastic. What is your leadership style, sir?
That's a very good question, Robert. The leadership style that I practice is giving powers to every leader. so that they can experience and excel and maximize their God-given potentials. I also let them know that you don't build something big by saying bad things about others. You don't build something great by saying horrible things about other people's company. If you do, that's a recipe for failure. You gotta always stay on the positive side. Number two, short-term pleasure can lead to long-term traps. Number three, if things come easily and you get comfortable, you are getting trapped into dependency. You're getting trapped into dependency. It's like going to the gym. If you're going to develop muscles, you have to be practicing those skills every single day. If you don't, it's not going to happen. When you're not using your skills, you will lose more than your skills. If you're not using your skills, you will lose more than your skills. You lose your choices and freedom.
Wow.
Now, nothing comes easily in life, and if it comes easily, maybe it's not worth it. They have to realize as a leader, certain things have to be done, no matter how difficult it is. Which is why depending on what level at which you operate, certain things are expected. For instance, this year, in my hierarchy, we have 4 big conventions. Lillian has a convention. Emmanuel has a convention. And the charity, we're having a big convention, and I don't interfere. We have Lillian doing a next level academy, charity the same, Emmanuel the same. So they have to do it. You only get good and better when you do it. It's like trying to swim. If you want to learn how to swim, you're not going to watch YouTube. You have to get into the swimming pool and start slapping your hands. Then, by the time you're doing it the 10th time, those skills start coming. So if you are an EMD, CEO, if you're an EMD and above, certain leadership skills must be executed. Every EMD must do at least 2 conventions a year. Every EMD. So that's the style, that's the system, And everybody looks forward to being EMD so that they can start practicing those skills of learning how to swim, so that by the time they move to the next level, they can now compete at the Olympic level. You get the idea.
Yes, sir.
Back to you, Robert.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That was amazing. So, how do you keep your team motivated? You've got a large team. How do you keep them motivated despite conflicts and obstacles?
One of the things I would say I haven't been blessed with is there haven't been conflicts. We haven't experienced that. It's been collective effort, collective success, teamwork. You know something new, you teach everybody. You develop a new skill, you teach everybody. And because we have been doing that, that's a result of the success. Now, if I tell you that, like the things I indicated early on, I didn't know those things until they came, and each and every single one of these leaders taught the entire hierarchy the skills they brought with them. So we are yet to experience it, conflict. I hope not. But for obstacles, every single time you lead, you're going to experience challenges. But then by the time you repeat the process 3 times, the challenges don't exist anymore.
Wow.
It hasn't been our core principles, and it's worked out so well thus far. Back to you, Robert.
Sure. So what are your current goals? You've made it to executive chairman. What are your current goals now?
So my current goals is we want to have 100 SMDs in California.
Wow.
Because California is the biggest state, and we don't have a lot of operation. So we have 2 big events in California, one in San Jose and one in Los Angeles. Capacity for 3,000 people, and we're going to make sure we fill the hall. By the time that happens, we're going to have more than 100 SMDs in California. So that's my goal for 2024, and it's going to happen. 100 SMDs in the state of California.
Nice. That's the foundational growth. I love it. I love it.
Right.
My last question I got for you, sir, I really appreciate your time. This has been absolutely amazing. How do you continue to grow and develop as a leader?
So that's a good one. One of the things that I have learned in the process is self-education. Self-education comes from the power of having mentorship and also reading books. There is a lot that you learn when you read books on leadership. It gives you the drive, it gives you to dot an I or cut a T. Not so much changes, but just by dotting an I and cutting a T, the effects of that are huge. You learn from the errors of others. You adjust your style. You implement changes. And that's what has been helping me in leadership. I hear back to you, Robert.
Wow, this is absolutely awesome. You know what, I'm so grateful for your time. You've really inspired and motivated us and moved us tonight. Would you all agree with that? I know we have the chat turned off at Mr. Fombo's request, but wouldn't it just awesome if you could just turn your cameras on and just give reverence to this incredible leader. I'm grateful myself. I know you all have learned, but I have learned so much, man. I have just really went to another level, and I'm grateful. Mr. Fombo will not be taking questions. Am I correct, sir?
You're correct.
So no
How
question
about we do
tonight.
this? So let's reverse that. Let's reverse that. Let me take two questions.
Okay.
Let me take two questions. So I'm gonna call a lady and I'm gonna call a male. So let's give the first question to Gina, Miss Padilla. Go ahead, Gina.
Hey, thank you so much for allowing this. So many gold bricks dropped. One of my teammates is asking how we might be able to attend your event in San Jose or Los Angeles and bring prospects. Is that a possibility? I'm on the team of Rose Macias.
Well, you're based in California?
Yes, we are.
All right. Let me think about that.
Okay.
All right. Let's give the second question to, that's an easy one to answer. Let's give the second question to Marie. All right, let's give the second one to Edward. Edward.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Mr. Fombo, it's a pleasure to listen to you, and thank you so much for all the teaching that you just did for the last hour. My question, how long does it take you to recognize something, a paradigm shift, and how long does it take for you to implement this to the whole hierarchy?
It takes a week to implement the entire hierarchy. And it takes a month for me to notice you have a skill that I want to learn. All right, let's hear from Maria. Go ahead, Maria. Oh, there are two Marias. All right, let's hear from not Marie, but Maria.
Maria.
Go ahead, Maria.
Yep. Here we go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fombo. I was wondering, when you mentioned that Liliana did those events in another state, did she know people in the other state, or did she just choose an event, a location, and just held the event? And the reason why I ask is I do have friends in other states, so I would very much like to do something like that. But, you know, I'm just wondering, did she just kind of go and reserve a place and throw an event, or did she have a contact there?
She didn't know people in that state, which is why I was shocked.
She didn't know anybody?
But I knew I had to learn how did she do it. No, she didn't know anybody in that state. And she was able to make it happen. The same way when I saw Jeff Leverton do it at the American Dream Convention, I'm like, you live in Georgia, how is it possible you're able to fill this room? So I began to realize the importance of how to mobilize in a city in which you don't live in. And yes, when you put your brain to work, where there's a will, there's a way. I'm going to close with this.
Thank you.
Let me show you one more thing before I close. Now, one second. Robert, I know you asked me what were my goals for this year. I forgot one of them. Told you about the plan for California. But here is what I want to accomplish this year. So in 2022, as a hierarchy, we did $43 million. This is how many people got paid in 2022. Now, in 2023, we did $70 million. This is how many people got paid in my hierarchy in 2023. That's about 100% jump.
My God.
Now, I think we did horrible. We did super duper horrible. And I want to fix that in 2024. So our goal for 2024 is to change this number from 70 million to 120 million. This is going to happen, especially as we touch down in California, the biggest state in America. It's going to happen. Because when I see what WG can do, I imagine that we have a company called WG that is comparable to none. And most people do not know, they don't see the power of what they have in their hands. A company, if you think about it, and I don't want you guys to focus on numbers, don't focus on commission. Oh, our company is better, we're paying you 130% commission. Look, all those things are lies. Let me tell you why. It is called mathematics, statistics. If you understood numbers, sciences, if you want to prove that A plus B is equal to C, you can prove it. If you also want to prove that A plus B is equal to 0, you can prove it. So statistics is the act of playing around with numbers to get to a certain point. That's why you will never hear me brag about company A, company B is giving 200% commission or 135% commission.
Yes, sir.
It is impossible to give somebody 130% commission when there's only 100. You cannot give somebody more than 100. All you got is 100. You got just one. So there's no such thing as paying somebody 110% commission, 120% commission. It's impossible. Now, here's the other point, right? Let's forget about the numbers. If you imagine a company, Robert, a company like WLG, and I have been asking the question, I look at my hierarchy. How many leaders do I have that are making $1 million in just 4 years of joining WLG? Let me call their names. We have Lillian Apono making 3 million. We have Emmanuel Tita, by the way, that's in 3 years. We have Emmanuel Tita making 2.1 million in 3 years since joining WFG. We have Vera Aza making 1.9 million in 3 years since joining WFG. We have Stefania Fombo, my little sister, making 1.1 in 4 years since joining WFG. We have Prince Chinche making $1 million in 3 years since joining WFG. We have Patricia Aponsa making 1.1 million in 3 years since joining WFG. These are millionaires, right? Now, if we have to count people who are making 500K and above, 18. And all these individuals in their first 3 years. If we have to count those who are making 250K and above, they are uncountable. They are just way too many. So I ask the question, forget about commission, forget about running around on numbers. Show me a company that has somebody that looks like Robert and Daniel. Brother, do you know a company? I've been here for 6 years. Maybe you know better. Show me one company out there in all of America that can put a stamp on a face that looks like Robert or looks like Daniel. In financial services in America, any person that has crossed 500K in cash flow, I have given that assignment to everybody and I have not seen one yet. So please, if you know anybody in financial services, in all 50 states of America, one person that looks like Robert or looks like Fombo, that is making 500K in cash flow, I want to know that person. I want to know that person. Because we can show you a story in WLG that doesn't exist anywhere else. And so when people don't look at the picture of what is happening, they fall for numbers. It is the act of statistics, manipulating numbers to arrive at a certain answer. We gotta stay focused, guys. There is so much work to be done because I look at the numbers. How much wealth have we created? By the way, you see the commission, 70 million.
Yes, sir.
No commission is directly proportional to families helped. The commission we see is a direct proportionality to the numbers of families that have been protected with life insurance and that were protected with, in annuities. Now, 99.9% of the numbers I showed you is life insurance. This would not have happened. These are the number of families that have been protected. Now, when all these policies start paying out, either in sickness or in death, we start changing that formula. We change a formula that sometimes make me tear up when I see it represented. Let me show you this, the last picture. Since we are talking about Black excellence, let me show you the last picture, and then we're going to close for today.
Yes, sir.
Now, check this out. Check this out. This is the formula. This is the picture that makes me wake up every single day, and I want to do even more. This picture right here. This is America, a country, a nation of opportunities, full of wealth, tremendous amount of wealth. But I see this and my head spins. That the net worth of a Black family, that's me and you, Robert, that's me and you.
Yes, sir.
Right? $17,000. 17K. And then we look at this formula and we ask ourselves, are we supposed to be walking? Are we supposed to be crawling, walking, or running? How do we balance an equation that looks this bad? But I have a dream. I promise you these numbers are going to get fixed if we all stay focused. We all stay focused on making sure that one person helps one person. We stay focused on helping our community, not the commission, not the 120% contract level, not the commission level of 90%, 80%. We just stay on making a difference in the community. 10 years later, 20 years later, the world will look back at this moment and say, what happened?
Yes, sir.
Where did things start happening to fix this formula? They will point fingers at World Financial Group because WFG is the only. There's no other company out there. WFG only. And if you know one company, I want to know about that company. How do you know? All I'm asking is show me one person that looks like Robert King or Daniel Fombo that is making 500K. If you cannot show me one company out there, you don't have a case. Let's stay focused on WFG, guys. WFG is the way. Don't focus on distractions.
Yes, sir.
Don't focus on the naysayers. Don't focus on those people who have turned their back. And then all of a sudden, all they have to say about WFG is the wrong stuff. It's not correct. But then in the end, who suffers? Our community suffers. It's going to be you, your brother, your sister, your children are going to be the people left behind. So no, it's not going to happen. WFG today, WFG yesterday, and WFG forever. We plant our flag and let's build the heck out of this thing to the top. Let's make sure that we go into all cities, all towns, and spread the word, the good news about WFG, because it is here for every single person, regardless of race, cultural heritage, If somebody like Daniel Fombo, who is barely trying to put words together in English, can rise to this level in 6 years. If you hear the success stories of all these individuals I just showed you, if we were to talk about people making 100K a year, that would be like 100 and something people in their first 2 years in WFG. Where else can you find a success story of such? Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. It only exists in theory. It's theory. They make noise, a lot of noise, and they plant a seed of confusion. You know, when you want to weaken somebody, you want to distract somebody, you plant a seed of doubt. Plant a seed of doubt. You know what happened to my son? Let me share you a story. Let me share you a story about how, you know, you can get ruined from something that you were focused on. So I have a neighbor who is a Muslim. He's from Egypt. So the son is friends with my son. You know what this guy told my son? He told him, Santa is not real. Oh, boy. Santa is not real. And ever since then, my son used to be excited and focused and couldn't look forward to Christmas. Now, because of that seed that was planted, he don't have anything to do with Christmas anymore. Wow. All those things you say about Santa coming through the window is not true. Why? Because my friend told me it's not true. Wow. See the power of that? From the excitement to a seed of doubt being planted. That's why we cannot afford distraction. We cannot afford a seed of deception and lies to be planted, and then it takes us off of our focus, which is helping families and making a difference in our community. So, Brother King, we are in this together, man.
Yes, sir.
All the way to the top. We're gonna ride this boat.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna take every single person, wherever we can find them with us, because through WFG, everything is possible.
Everything.
Let's make it happen. Today, tomorrow, let's grind. I'm going for 100 SMGs in California. It's gonna happen. It's going to happen. Right now, we have just 2. The next 12 months, we're gonna have 100. It's going to happen. My God. Because by the time we have 100 SMGs in California, I can only imagine how many families will be helped. And I can only imagine how we move that needle in the right direction. Thank you guys so much, guys. All the way to the top. Stay blessed, stay focused, and let's grind together. Have a blessed day, everybody. Back to you, Mr. King.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fombo. Can we give him a hand, y'all? This was absolutely amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. You know what? We got our call up to 927 people. Wow, what an amazing call. Listen, let's take our notes. Let's absorb this information that this great leader has given us, and let's apply the information to our lives. This has been a Black Excellence event, and we want to thank you all for being here. Let's do what Mr. Fombo taught us. Let's stay focused and let's stay on the ship. This is the right company, and we're in the right season where God is going to move upon all of our businesses if we stay on the ship. God bless you all. Love you all. From Chicago, I'm out. You all have a wonderful and a prosperous year. Great things are going to happen this year. I speak prosperity and blessings upon each of your lives right now. I speak it upon each of your lives and your businesses. This power of overflow upon you all. God bless you. Love you all. Thank you so much. The power of overflow be upon you right now. Go to the group me's and inspire the nations, because leaders must be seen and heard. Bless you all. I speak prosperity and blessings upon you all right now. It is so. It is so. God bless you. Blessings upon each of you. What an amazing call. What an amazing people we are. God bless you all. What a powerful company we're in. God has brought us to something so powerful. God bless you all. I speak blessings upon you all. God bless you all, every last one of you. Be blessed, you all.